Welcome to the Headley Highlight Show's News Roundup. Now, I usually do a headspace. I usually do 7 or 6 or 5 or 3, 2 or 1. Well, it's always more than one headspaces. But today, I'm going to do a news roundup. Why? Because I haven't had time to do individual headspaces. That's why. So you're going to get a synopsis of the news with some things that I just want to throw in there, because what does one do on one's show? You just throw stuff in. So welcome to the Headley Highlight Show's News Roundup. Don't forget to do one of the following things. Make a donation at my website or on my YouTube channel, which is deniseheadley.com. I'm very partial to free wings and chips and a Miranda, or you might want to give me a bit of Bitcoin. Like, share, comment, hype, and engage, because that just helps to grow the channel and share the message. In addition to that, press the bell notification and select all, and then you will receive all of my uploads, which I'm sure will make you very happy, darling, as it does me. Right, so as we've done that now, let's jump straight into this week's news roundup. And it's not going to be long, it's just going to be quite a short one. Rachel Reeves, I refer to her as Rachel Thieves, she found herself in significant hot water this week. According to newspaper reports, she was renting her Southwark property without the prerequisite license. So basically, if you're going to rent as a private renter in most boroughs and local unitary authorities, you need permission from the borough to do so. And you have to apply for a license to show that your property meets certain safety conditions and is also, fit and habitable for use. Apparently, the Chancellor didn't have one. And it was discovered she didn't have one. And then she came under pressure to give a rationale as to why she didn't have one. But one of the things, before I get into that detail, one of the things that I thought was really interesting is, how did this come to light? I mean, how would this information get out into the public to the extent where she could not give account of the fact that there was a missing license? I think somebody dobbed her in. That's what I think. I think somebody close to her knew what was taking place, because if you don't have a license, you can then just get the rent. You know what I'm saying? You can get it and you don't have to declare it for tax, which, let's face it, she is the Chancellor. She'd be basically withholding funds from her own department. Not a good look. A bit like Angela Rayner, the Housing Minister and the Secretary of State for Housing, who forgot about stamp duty, and also that a second home needed to be registered for council tax. And I think they're kind of friendly together, a bit buddyish. But the point I'm making is, it's another lapse of what you would think the Chancellor of the country would ensure is taking place. So that's also interesting. But the other point, before I digressed, was, how did they find out? How did they actually find out that there was no license? Think of the level of digging you're going to have to do. And also, in addition to that level of digging, there is the Data Protection Act. You can't just rock up to the local authority and find out if a property's got a license or not. Presumably there's some register, but how do you get to the register? Is it a freedom of information request? But therefore, if it was, you needed to know in advance of that to go and ask the question. So that leads me back to my early conclusion. I think somebody dobbed her in. She got on somebody's nerves, and loose lips sink ships, and somebody knew about your business and they flapped their lips, and that's why you had to respond in the headlines, in my opinion. The lesson there is, don't tell people your business, because they'll use it against you. So what happened was, Rachel Thieves admitted that she had relied on a letting agency, very convenient, to do the license, and regrettably she didn't have it. Now this seems also incongruent, because once you agree to a private let, presumably there's a lease, and that lease is signed and shared with you, and you also have to have the license there, don't you? Of course you do. Anyway, that didn't occur. So Miss Reeves' letting agent now has fallen on their sword, ensuring that there's plausible deniability. Rachel Reeves' letting agent has apologised for not getting the necessary licence for her when renting out her home. Boo-hoo, break out the violins. Reeves had been under pressure since it emerged on Wednesday that she did not have a licence from the Southwark Council to rent out her property. Oh gosh. Then we had a collection of emails which were published where Reeves' husband showed that the letting agent said they were going to do it and they didn't do it. Mr. Starmer has accepted her apology, of course, because let's face it, who else is there to do that job? In addition, the ethics advisor was furnished with new information from Reeves's husband. That's a comfort to us all, I'm sure. Okay, what else did we have in the news this week that I wanted to pick up on? Oh yes, what's happening in Jamaica, the hurricane? So Jamaica has been battered for several days with a tropical cyclone, which is a rapidly rotating storm, and it's a system that has lots of low pressure and a closed level atmospheric circulation, meaning it creates hugely strong winds in a spiral arrangement of thunderstorms, heavy rains and squalls. Hurricane Melissa has been battering Jamaica. Reports have now calculated that at least 19 people have died as a result. And the hurricane is one of the most powerful to strike the Caribbean. It's also killed 30 people in Haiti, and we're not getting as much information about the impact of this in Haiti because we all know that how the media views Haiti. One of the key challenges at the moment for Jamaica is that the electricity to the island has been damaged, and there are several homes that have been destroyed due to floodwater, mud, and increasingly the lack of access to proper aid resources. Many communities in Jamaica have already been marooned as a consequence. And some people are lacking basic amenities such as water and electricity, like I said. There's so much debris that a journey from Mandeville to the country of Black River, which usually takes, or to the county, of Black River, usually takes about an hour. But that's going to now take you 8 hours because all of the roads are congested, all of the debris is everywhere, and basically you have power lines down and people are in a state of significant desperation. In Haiti, many victims were also killed when a storm effectively made a river overflow. And that full assessment is still not even known at this point. Around 15,000 people are staying in shelters in Haiti and interim UN coordinated facilities. In Cuba as well, that 3 million people have been exposed to life-threatening conditions because this hurricane has hit Jamaica, Haiti and Cuba, all those countries that are on the outlying region of that flow of water. The significance of this storm should not be underestimated. It had winds of up to 185 miles an hour. And now what you're seeing, there are considerable aid activities going on. The World Food Programme is collaborating with partners in Jamaica, Cuba, Haiti, and also the Dominican Republic. Even the UK government has done something. They've mobilised £5 million. Nothing compared to what they're giving to the Ukrainians, of course. But, something does help. So on that particular occasion, Mr. Keir Starmer, I will give you some ratings. Now let's jump all over to what's been happening in the Cameroons. Now, for those of you who listen to my show on a regular basis, you know that I speak quite a lot about what goes on in Africa and the Caribbean. And Ibrahim Traoré and what they're calling the Ibrahim Traoré effect is now moving all around Africa, which is essentially, it's an awakening. It's about collective consciousness saying that the current system that we have been operating under, not only does it not serve us, it actually pushes us and crushes us and pushes us down. Now, that is not taking place in the Cameroon at the moment, no. What's happened is there's been an election in the Cameroons and they have a leader and his name is Paul Biya, and he's now been elected for the 8th time, and he's been in power since 1982. He's basically somebody, I think, from some of the things I've seen, he's clearly doesn't have a great deal of mental cognition. I mean, if you thought Biden was had problems, just have a look at Paul Biya. And if you look at the country and the way it was ratified, and the group of people who ratified Mr. Biya, they're all in their 90s. So this is a country that is effectively tethered to a Western system that only generates more of the same. This is the reason why you have these community uprisings. I don't articulate them as coups because that's a Western narrative. No, they're community uprisings that effectively disconnect the community from the old regime and give them a new opportunity to move into a new period of enlightenment with new leaders. That's what's happening in Mali, Burkina Faso, Niger, and that sort of stuff. And also in Madagascar, which I'm going to come to. But what I thought was really interesting was that this man, Paul Biya, he wins an election for the 8th time. His nearest contender is like 80. And he's saying, oh, the whole thing's a fix. And it doesn't, because we have a Western system in many of those African countries, as far as I'm concerned, half of those elections are not credible, especially when they keep bringing in the same people year in and year out, and then they just keep recycling members of their family and stuff like that. That's not a credible election system. That's just a continuity of the same. And I think this is an example of that. And I think the youth in Cameroon are very unhappy with the status quo. And you have in Africa, like I said, a collection of what can I call them, rather geriatric leaders with completely Eurocentric approaches to their communities, and their communities are saying thank you, but we're not really working with that. And I think this is going to be a situation like that. So Paul Biya, he is there, but there is unrest. Let's see what happens. So that was an election that happened earlier this week. Now, I wanted to speak to you also about the Ibrahim Traoré effect in Madagascar. Now, did you know that their leader had been deposed? That's right. Let me just give you that bit of detail. So this article I'm going to read to you is from the BBC, which, as you know, as a member of the establishment. So listen to the framing. Madagascar president hiding. So first he's in danger in a safe place. So he's not that much in danger, as he warns of an attempted coup, which is a Western language for community uprising. So Madagascan president Andre Rajoelina has said he is sheltering in a safe place after an attempt on his life following weeks of protests calling for him to quit. Now, what that doesn't actually tell you is that Madagascar is one of those countries that's tethered to France. It's very much in the grip of France, and it's basically a colony of France, and the community there suffer hugely while wealth is extracted out of that country for French benefit. And this is the reason why Madagascar right now has undergone a community revolution. That's what's happened. But the BBC will tell you it's a coup and they're trying to kill their leaders. Very Western, it's, the usual framing, the run for the hills, the savages are coming, and don't forget Jemima and Giles. In a live broadcast to the nation on Facebook, interestingly, a group of military personnel planned to assassinate me, he said. He did not reveal his location, of course, because a French plane was sent to remove him out of the country, and it follows fortnights of protest. Now, this is interesting because if you listen to legacy media and corporate media sources, you will always get the framing, that divisive framing, which tries to tell you that it's the terrible community that is the reason why this, civilized leader is leaving. But what they don't tell you is about what the lived experiences of most people in Madagascar. Most people, when you hear the word Madagascar, they think about the movie, not the actual place and the people that live there. So let me just give you a little bit of historical perspective. Madagascar was colonized by the French in the 19th century, and then they took outright colonial rule. Under their rule, the economy was structured for extraction. We know how this goes, vanilla and coffee. And the local population was used as a labor force using coercive conditions. Madagascar now is rich in cobalt, nickel, graphite, and rare and critical minerals for Earth. And guess what? All the big mining companies are there, yes. Madagascar has 8% of the world's graphite reserves. 8% of the world's whole graphite reserves. Unsurprisingly, they export raw materials mainly to France. And French firms power most of the transformation of these raw materials into items that they then move and sell on. France is embedded in the mining and institutional frameworks. French is the formal language. They dominate they dominate the culture, and essentially they are still a colonial force in the country. And thankfully, they've been removed in a community uprising. And because France still has land claims over it, they have maritime rights in that critical part of the region. So this is a reason why it's so important that there has been a community uprising in Madagascar. Right, do I have any more news items for you? Oh, well, the big roundup of the week, of course, has got to be for domestically, has got to be the removal of the titles from Prince Andrew. Yeah, he's no longer going to be called Prince Andrew. He's going to be called Andrew. And I've done a whole series of this in the Royal Corner. If you want to have a listen to my Royal Corner this week, where I go into it quite extensively, because in my opinion, the whole thing is a veneer exercise. He will face no legal action, no probe into misuse of public funds, breaching the Data Protection Act, and potentially having sexual relations with minors. None of that's going to be investigated, no. So as far as I'm concerned, this is for the gallery. It's for the masses to make you think that something decisive has been done, when all that's happened is he's not getting invited over for Christmas, he can't be in any public pictures, and his brother's going to pay for him privately because he got a big fat settlement from the Duchy of Lancaster or Cornwall. That's what I think. And that's it, darling. Hope you enjoyed the roundup. See you next week. Don't forget to make a donation. I'm very partial to 3 Rings and Chips. Oh, and next week, yes, I have my very special guest speaking to us live, Akesh, giving us an update about what's going on in Canada 6 months after Mark Carney, the central banker, suddenly got a new job. See you next week, darling. Toodle pips. And kata! Right. I really enjoyed that. See you next week, darlings.